You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
White Noise, episode 21. We're back. Shout out to Sham, Lord Vader himself, for the music, and Misuku of Black Announceable for her contribution as well. Like you said, Black Pod Connect will be this coming week, but if you're watching this on YouTube, we still appreciate it, but pay the 1, pay the 10, you get the early access on Patreon. But yeah, Black Pod Connect should be interesting.
Are you officially going to be a part of this trip?
Nope, not now. Nope, not after last night. Nope. Kiss my ass.
We're not going to have a team.
Nope.
We're not going to have a team. We're going into Black Pod Connect without a team.
Yeah.
That
man can go be your fucking.
The problem
team.
is, Drip, now that you're not a champion, you don't really have any say-so.
What kind of contract is? What kind of Wardlow MJF contract is
let me
this?
tell you this. If the CEO of BRE is off, if Fam can't make it, and I'm literally pushing the buttons, it's you and it's Mimi. That's it. We'll see. The people don't even know the rules of what's going to be going on when the Black Pod Connects this Thursday. So hopefully we figured it out so you'll know before Thursday.
And
but
if you're watching this Saturday,
if you're watching the YouTube,
you know who won, and if it's me, then
he said I can't do it. So wait, Drip, what are we doing this week? After I will say, when I saw your tweet about what'd you say? It's the Drips Well,
I thought we were gonna have it earlier this year with the way Adam Cole and Jay White were moving, but they made that a fatal 4-way instead. But last night, Survivor Series in Boston, Massachusetts, we had the Drip Miracle Whip Classic between AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, and the Prince, Finn Bálor.
How are you feeling? Because I mean, mind you, the one I was watching this intently just because I lit all day. I was waiting for Survivor Series. It's the first, like, the most similar entrances.
I'd say so. Go ahead and put the image on the screen from last night.
Right. Hold up. This one.
Yeah. So we got AJ Styles rocking the samurai-inspired mask that he had worn a few years ago. I think this is a more modified one, and Finn Bálor kind of wearing like a blank face. Someone had a good tweet where it's like a Cobra Commander and type reflective mask. I'm like, that's dope. I guess would he be the Club Commander? Like,
is that the name of the episode? The Club?
No, I have a name for the episode.
All right,
it's an old saying my dad used to use because
put it in the private chat. Don't say it. Put it in the private chat. But no, I think that Cobra Commander's because it's different than the mask that I saw him debut at Extreme Rules, which I think is dope. It feels like
put that image in the chat as well if you want to put that one. So that, like I said,
this one
was last night, and like when they were in Japan on a regular tour a few years ago, AJ Styles was US champ. This would be 2017. He had this mask to kind of throwback to his Bullet Club days when he had worn that kind of half mask at Wrestle Kingdom against Shinsuke Nakamura in 2016. But famously, we had talked about it, I think a little bit here, but then on BRP Black Wrestling Proper, I should say, about Finn Balor's Margiela Yeezus inspired mask and the wings and all that. I enjoyed it. Graham and I had a back and forth last night. He thought neither look was good last night in terms of like the Finn Balor one. He thought the Margiela inspired mask looked dope. And I had said if I could have ordered that Margiela type mask, I would have shown up to BRP that week with that type of mask just to.
I will say I think this mask that Finn wore was better than this one. I
agree as well.
I like the idea that they're still experimenting with whatever this entrance in this era is going to be for Finn, but this look was a lot harder.
Yeah.
Than this, and because even when he came out last night, he didn't even get on the ropes to do at Extreme Rules when he usually does the shit like this. He was like
what
this.
I want to talk about in a way, and
yeah, talk about it.
This is also about the Bullet Club leaders in general. This episode, but because of last night's match, it kind of was what inspired me to do this, and it had been in the works for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But like this version of Finn Bálor, I told this to Graham. Shouts to Public Enemies.
Salute
that he's trying to differentiate himself from Demon Finn Bálor. Like if I'm these big shows, I'm supposed to come out and have a match. I'm not going to do the paint. I'm not about that anymore.
Right.
I'm trying to do something different. So like these masks are that, which is why I think he's trying to wrestle a different style too. In that match, can he wrestle a little bit more physical, more holds? I think some people thought it was underwhelming. Big, and that's the hype machine of like this match with
calling that match underwhelming is crazy. I'm sorry.
I think people now are maybe churn on Finn since this second call up from NXT. We had talked about this a few episodes ago when he was the Prince and had that amazing run when he was sent back down and carried the promotion, and then he got called back up, got fed to Roman Reigns, and that was it. It was back to the same old shit where like you tread water in the mid card and hope something works out. And luckily Judgment Day, it wasn't to Edge's liking, and they swapped him out for Finn Bálor instead. And I think it's been working with him as the front man and Rhea Ripley as the star, is what we've talked about for numerous weeks on the show. And Damian Priest is just kind of there, and Dominic Mysterio's the one who gathers the heat so this crew can actually be booed instead of cheered.
Right.
And that's why I feel like he wants, I think, to be this more cerebral type wrestler and not be the Finn Bálor who's going to go all out. Like if you watch the match they had in 2017 TLC, the impromptu match where they had to fly AJ Styles from I believe South America to fill in for Bray Wyatt, who had MRSA. If everyone remembers when Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas, and Roman Reigns had MRSA and had to miss that whole pay-per-view. I think you guys called it the Blumps.
The Blumps. No, that was definitely the Blumps era, yeah. But
it was supposed to be Demon Finn Bálor against Sister Abigail Bray Wyatt, remember?
Right. Yeah, no, I do remember this.
Actually, a match I still wish I could have seen in a way, even though it probably would have been awful, but I would have been like, is this man really going to come out with, oh, I'm a woman? No. But
this shit, though.
The worst part about this is it happened in Minneapolis.
Uh-huh.
And I had looked into going to the show a few weeks prior, but I'm like, this card looks awful. And I remember as I'm skipping, I had put it on yesterday, and I'm fast forwarding through the rest of the show to get to this match. And I'm like, oh, I was right, because it was Asuka versus Emma. It was Enzo Amore versus Kalisto.
Yikes.
It was another cruiserweight tag match. It was just Mickey James versus Alexa Bliss.
Yuck.
This match, and then the Shield, which is Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and the replacement Kurt Angle against The Bar, Braun Strowman, The Miz, and Kane.
Woof. Kurt Angle was in the fucking... That was him.
The gray man gear, like I said, those
I hated
vests,
that.
those cargo pants, the boots.
Hated that.
Nope. Like they should have cut the two songs together. But that match, you can see like they're trying to call it on the fly in the ring numerous times, like the way they're moving. It's still an impressive match for two guys who had, I'd say, less than 24 hours to put a match together, given the hype again that one guy started the Bullet Club and the other guy took the baton from him once he decided to leave.
Right.
And it still lived up to expectations to me, and it was amazing seeing that version of Finn Bálor. But I think it's also the fact that he was a demon, wrestled a lot faster, did a lot more high spots, a lot of dives, flips. But that's kind of what he was supposed to do as this babyface, more so as this character. This version, like I said, when we did the episode a few weeks ago, like he wanted to, weaken you with holds, wear you down, like work the limbs, just that cerebral type, old school British style that he had started out with before he went to Japan and became more well-rounded. But what did you think of the match last night? Because you were the underwhelming comment. You, like I said, felt you had a reaction, and I agree. I think to call that underwhelming is,
I think underwhelming is crazy, just because this was a Saturday night Big Four pay-per-view match. The match, if you're calling it underwhelming because you kind of felt like what they may have done on Raw. I could see that, but their Raw matches are phenomenal as well. I think the thing is I like the two of these guys. It's rare that they're off, but I could care less about what's going on storyline. Like the
I was going to get to that. Go ahead.
To drop the Dominic, because the Dominic Rhea going to Rey Mysterio's house, that's such a great video. It goes on way too long. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way somebody in the house isn't calling the cops by the time,
or getting involved. Yeah,
he's got a broom that he breaks on his dad's leg that's got the cast on the boot on it. Like at a certain, even Brian Pillman and Steve Austin,
they had to cut the feed. Yeah,
they had to cut the feed at a certain point.
That's what this needed.
The only thing it went on for too long without any intervention. But it's such a great to Thanksgiving. I'm like half tipsy, looking on my phone, like, oh shit. Of course, Dominic Mysterio shows up with Rhea at Rey Mysterio's house. But that's the story.
You think they actually had a real Thanksgiving with Rhea Ripley just sitting there?
I think they said, yo, come over. We're going to have dinner anyway. And
to be honest, that could have been filmed the day prior as well.
Drip.
You think they actually? Do you think Thanksgiving they worked the angle?
I think, again,
Thanksgiving with Buddy Matthews.
I'm not tooting my horn, but I was on an Elias documentary like 3-4 years ago. I've been around a WWE shoot. It's not. I don't want to say it's one of those things where look at the video. It's literally a shot of Rhea and Dominic walking up to the house, having banter, knock on the door.
Yeah, it's like, hey, mommy, hey.
Ray's got to be, yo, what the fuck you doing? Like, this is we're trying to have fun. Like, fuck all that.
He opens the door as Oscar Gutierrez because he has to close and then put the mask on. He's like, yeah.
It was family time. He wasn't even trying to be about this. You know what I'm saying? And they did it so well. It's beautiful work, but it's like.
But in this story of the OC versus the Judgment Day,
who cares?
Yeah,
we'd seen this. So we'd seen Dom and Rhea from the Judgment Day have this beef with Rey Mysterio. That's probably not even going to be pay off until WrestleMania, because there's Ray's on one show, Dominic's on another show, and they're not really beefing right now.
And they'll have an interaction at the Rumble, most likely.
Facts, big facts,
to set that up and get it going.
We already saw Mia Yim as part of the
Meechin.
Women's WarGame Meech. That Meechin stuff
I'm kidding.
No, it's weird because
they're like, we're gonna do this, and then never mind.
They were so hype about Meechin on the show. Like the OC came, hey Meechin, let's get some beers, da 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 da. And then when they said it's Korean for crazy, I said, oh, I can't use that on a piece that I'm posting.
Yeah,
I damn sure don't know if they like 100% confirm that. So then to hear that she was Meechin on the site and they went back to Mia Yim quick. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I hope that the Korean community of pro wrestling fans are like, yo, no. And they said, oh, my fault. But we already saw Dom and Rhea go to Ray's house. We already saw Mia Yim represent in the women's WarGames match. This was the next match.
Yeah.
There were no women involved. Rhea's the biggest component of Judgment Day. I don't care what anybody says. Judgment Day barely played a part in this, as did the OC.
And that's the thing. They could have just come out for the entrances and just left. This needed to be the two leaders, 1v1. All that other side shit stays back. Like finally,
but for what
the video package had said before, like when Finn Bálor said, like, I'm the one who started this stupid club. It needed to get down to that. You, me, like Japan. The night I leave, Bullet Club is the night you show up. That's what happens at wrestling.
But wait,
I mean, at Invasion Attack is that Finn Bálor loses to Ryusuke Taguchi. The Young Bucks kick him out. Later in the night, Finn Bálor shows up, attacks Okada, and is now the new leader of the Bullet Club.
Yes.
And that's the story that they could tell.
They can't.
Yeah. You can say other shows. Yeah. Were you afraid if you're steering someone to go watch shit on New Japan World or acknowledge the past? Like,
but why didn't they? Because Cole, I tweeted, it was interesting to hear Michael Cole, because there was a part where it said in the script, Michael Cole gives Bullet Club history, and you got a paragraph of, what's the best way, like the WWE's version of the Bullet Club history, and they mentioned Inoki, they mentioned New Japan, they mentioned there were things that anything New Japan centric was filled in, you know what I'm saying? But it's so abbreviated. But they gave the story that it was Finn, and then it was AJ, and now we're 7-8 years removed or whatever.
And then we'll get into the other factors later. But that's the thing, because in a way, it's a shame that they can't really, because Finn and AJ are there, Kenny Omega's in AEW, Jay White's in New Japan,
right?
Because the biggest story last night that we can obviously agree universally is Sami Zayn going full Uso and picking the bloodline over Kevin Owens, and Myth Gifts and all the great Twitter accounts or YouTube channels that will cover the story of them as El Generico and Kevin Steen.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
No, like there have been, again, numerous, and that's why we're so invested in this story, because it's the simplest story you can come up with. Mm-hmm. It's an outsider joining a family, not just any family, a real family.
Word.
And is trying to be seen as one of them. But there's this guy who he has an on and off again relationship with that he can't quit in a way. And it's for it's for the best or for the worst. Like they'll always be linked. Again, whether one's Batman and the other's the Joker, but this guy's like, I'm looking for something different. Again, like what he said, like, you are my family, he was saying, right, to them, like the bloodline is my family. After they were victorious, they all gather up. And
that embrace between Jay and Sammy is a crazy visual.
And that's the thing. And the timeline just goes crazy with the cinema and storytelling. And it's accurate because they're able to tell this, because 4 of those guys are family.
Right.
3 of them more than most, but like, again.
Well, shit, add Paul Heyman in there, and you really got like 5 people who have been together for years, and Sami Zayn being added to.
And then the outsider is more kind of a family with the guy he's supposed to be fighting. And
storytelling is so good.
And that's the thing that AJ and Finn can't do, because when AJ Styles was going to leave New Japan, Kenny Omega usurps him instantly, like, and proclaims himself to be the new leader of Bullet Club. And he cuts this promo where, like, AJ, I showed up to Bullet Club to be the Bullet Club's guy in the junior division, and I had to starve myself, and I had to work to cut my weight down and just to be something I wasn't, when really I should be what you are, because I'm better than you, and I can lead Bullet Club in a better direction than you did. And then that's where the Elite comes from, and there's that whole kind of civil war within Bullet Club. And then now the Elite, which is Kenny Omega, the Bucks. They then bring in Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page, the redacted villain Marty Scurll, the American Nightmare Cody. Like, and in a way they form a subsection of Bullet Club that then defers to the point where, when there's a civil war brewing within Bullet Club between Cody and Kenny goes to Jay White, like, this is the guy that'll solve everything. We bring in this guy who's returned from excursion to lead and will be the next Gaijin leader, because that's the whole point of Bullet Club. It's the outsiders from Europe, Australia, wherever, coming into Japan to take over. Much like
it's the outsiders mixing with a bunch of dope Japanese wrestlers. Yeah.
And Jay White doesn't take the Bullet Club's offer until the end of the summer, when Tama Tonga, shout out to something else with Lovey Laveau and Fam. There's that synergy.
They're back.
That goes into a way, because Tama Tonga is one of these guys who is a Bullet Club OG. He was one of the first 4 with Finn, Carl Anderson, and Bad Luck Fale. the four of them is what started Bullet Club.
Shit, wait. I'm sorry, wait, hold up. Hikuleu, Tama Tonga, Chris Bay. We've had 3 Bullet Club members.
Yeah, we have.
In the beer. I need a Bullet Club shirt.
I've never had a Bullet Club shirt as the area.
Let's go to Hot Topic. They gotta be there, right? I need a Devils Bullet Club.
You mean where it's the Bullet Club font, but with the New Jersey Devils type?
Hold up. A Bullet Club logo with like a Jersey Devils, like fuck. Anyway, continue, Drip. I'm sorry. I love this stuff.
But Tama Tonga is like, he's getting sick of the elite fighting with each other and forgetting about Bullet Club, which is what made them. The fact that there is this faction that builds people up from little known to completely relevant, if we want to go into that 21 Savage Nas territory about who is relevant, because what's the whole point of Bullet Club? I mean, you guys didn't have the pod then, but were you kind of paying attention to this going on in 2014 through 2017?
2014, no. I knew that it was a thing, but I will say that when All In happened, because All In is when I noticed, and it's only because so many members of Bullet Club at the time of All In were...
The side panels are the logo.
But what I'm saying is, like when you think of the premiere,
it's
at the
basically
time,
Bullet Club presents.
It was all of them. And as I remember watching the show on the way to work, on like the train back and forth, and it was always representing the Bullet Club, and that was like 3 or 4 of the matches that night. So it
was Skrull versus Okada, Hangman Page versus Janela, the Elite against Mysterio, Kota Ibushi, and Bandito.
Mm-hmm.
The Golden Elite, I should say, because it was
Golden
Ibushi,
Elite, right?
Ibushi filling in for an Omega, and Omega versus Penta.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was. There was a lot. Hearing represent, because I knew that there was a Bullet Club.
Oh, Cody facing Nick Aldis, so five matches, yeah.
Representing the Bullet Club was a line that just like,
oh shit, fuck yeah, Flip Gordon faced Jay Lethal, and he was like the he was a guy, he was a hanger on, he was in the Bullet Club now.
Bullet Club was all, because we mentioned 5 matches.
Yeah,
hold up, let me do All In, because I want to know how many matches were that night. 5 of the matches were Bullet Club members. There were 11 matches total. That's including, because Flip Gordon was on the pre-show. Yeah, he was in the pre-show. So yeah, 5 matches out of an 11-match card. That's almost half the card.
Yeah,
they were on top of the world at that.
That's a whole another episode, is covering All In a way.
But this is what I'm saying. Like
we'll get to covering All In maybe next year when it's the 5-year anniversary.
Before All In, I knew who the Bullet Club were. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until All In when I sat back and said, all right, A, let me examine current Japan style, but also B, let me at least get educated on what feels like the premier faction of what's going on in wrestling outside of WWE right now. So it's dope that Michael Cole was able to, I mean, this is a couple years before, but in 2022, to hear Michael Cole have to do like an abbreviated version of how this became this, I'm not mad at it. There's a lot of steps that he had to hop over. There's a lot of people that he couldn't, because he couldn't name Kenny Omega.
No.
They didn't even mention Cody Rhodes, which you don't really need to, but they didn't mention him at all, and they could have. It's interesting.
But that's what I mean. But if they started doing stuff like that, would you then be invested into the story, because there are these details and Easter eggs and layers to it, instead of just 2 guys who led a faction outside are now in the same place, and the 2 guys around them have been involved as well, given that there are Anderson and Gallows?
Let's say this. For the WWE, which... one of the reasons that people love the Bloodline is because, not just because it's Roman, not just because it's the Usos, but it's the fact that Roman and the Usos and Solo are related to Yokozuna, and the Samoan SWAT team and Alpha and Seeking. Like there's a lineage. You know what I'm saying? The story of these guys are great right now, but if you can go back every 10 years, every 20 years, you're going to see that there's a reason they're dope because everybody that came from them were dope. That's cool. The idea that the greatest wrestlers on the planet were having like secret meetings to be like, yo, we're the dopest wrestlers and we're going to fuck everybody up outside of WWE. And they're able to kind of take these dope things that are happening, incorporating it into the WWE. It's dope. I think once you start going from the world loved the Bullet Club to a certain subset of the internet loves AJ and Finn to the WWE Universe, without like a care in the world, that Finn Balor AJ Styles match at WarGames, no matter how dope you like the entrances, no matter how dope the matches were, that match meant nothing.
That's what I'm trying to say.
There was no real storyline other than both of these guys used to be the leaders of a group that we didn't really grow up with or get a lot of footage on.
It's a group that we had to send cease and desist to because they stole our shit.
Right. It's in 2020, in hindsight, when you go back and look at when AJ Styles was going to be coming into the WWE.
Even Finn Bálor, because Finn Bálor shows up in 2014, and I had heard the name Prince Devitt, but I'm like, who's this guy? He's Irish.
No, but wait,
he shows up and he becomes Finn Bálor and like the Balor Club and throwing the too sweet, and like that's supposed to mean something. And
no, right?
You know, type shit.
But wait, like you figure because you're saying that in 2014, in 2018, if you were paying attention to pro wrestling outside of WWE at that time. By the time AJ Styles was going to the WWE, the Bullet Club erupted. You feel what I'm saying? Like
that's what I'm saying. When you get to 2016 and he's leaving, and Gallows and Anderson are leaving, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks take those 3 spots in terms of the top tier,
right?
And everyone in kind of stays the same. Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, Yujihiro Takahashi, and then they said the elite, as they would then call themselves, like I said, bring in those guys who would then migrate over to AEW,
right,
and become the EVPs or the foundation of that company. Marty Scurll excluded.
Facts.
But that's why. No, I'm saying like he's the one who decided to seek out on his own and stay in ROH because those guys became bigger than Bullet Club in their mind because New Japan owns Bullet Club, Ghetto, and then like they own Bullet Club, and at some point they're like, we're bigger than this. It's what my dad would always say about Sir Alex Ferguson, who managed Manchester United, the soccer club, is that he had the idea like no one's bigger than the club, no one's bigger than Manchester United. Like that was like that's why David Beckham left because not his stock was just rising as a celebrity by dating Posh Spice and being the most handsome man in Britain, but like when you're the star player and like England's go-to when it's the World Cup or any other Euro event, you start to think of yourself a different way. But for Sir Alex, you play my style, you play within my system, and every guy has to play as equal as the man next to him. Omega, the Bucks, and those ones that left to go start AEW thought they were bigger than the Bullet Club, and that's the point of Jay White coming in, this new fresh face who's going to reignite the flame with these older guys, and then come this year in a way where there's an undertold story that's similar between Kenny Omega and Jay White, their own version that they could have. Right. You put up the image of Wrestle Kingdom. So at the top of 2023, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, the match we've been waiting to see, 5-star for the IWGP US title, which Kenny Omega was the first ever champion. And then in the main event, Jay White, Okada, once again, for the IWGP US title. And the 3rd and 4th Bullet Club leaders will be on that show. And that's why it's funny, they're side by side in the image. And that's how it works, right?
Shouts to white people, yo.
But the irony is that Jay White took the IWGP US title from Kenny Omega.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
And when Kenny Omega was on his belt collector run at the end of whatever Impact pay-per-view it was, Jay White shows up and they have, a stare down. That's when Jay White kind of shows up in Impact, then recruits Chris Bay to join the Bullet Club. And as we talked earlier this year, Summer VV, Chris Bay has kind of the energy, I think, that would fit to be the fifth leader of Bullet Club if he were to then get tired of Jay White's leadership.
What's going on in Japan right now?
Well, that's what I was going to get to with the Tama.
I'm sorry,
because there's always.
Am I jumping the gun? I'm sorry.
No. There's always kind of an assistant captain in Bullet Club.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Anderson was that assistant captain between Finn Bálor and AJ Styles.
I could see that.
With Kenny Omega, it was sort of Cody because he comes in and he's looking to kickstart his indie cred by aligning himself with this big faction and standing next to the guy. And that's the whole feud of like Kenny Omega, Okada 2. Cody comes down with the towel in his hand. He wants to throw it in. And it was like, no, let him do it. And then they had Cody thinks that he can face Okada. And then in his reign, he doesn't. And then Omega and Kenny and Cody keep clashing, and the Bucks choose one side and they choose the Cody side, and people start again a civil war within Bullet Club, and it's a civil war within the sub faction of Bullet Club, and that's what I mean, where it's like layered within, and that's the whole point of Tama Tonga, and then gets sick. Like these guys care about themselves; they don't care about this. That's the whole too sweet matters test, because those guys can't do it because they got the cease and desist. We can do it, and there was that whole point where, in a way, we were almost going to get to the Elite versus the Bullet Club. They kind of did. I think Guerrillas of Destiny took the title, the IWGP World Tag Titles, from the Bucks when they had a short run on their way out to start AEW. But when they anoint Jay White the leader, there were kind of two assistant captains in a way. When COVID started, Evil joins Bullet Club. Evil from LIJ, Los Ingobernables de Japón. And he takes the titles from Naito, the IWGP World Heavyweight titles and the IC titles, and kind of establishes himself as the second guy. But then last year when Jay White was in America more than in Japan, Tama Tonga was taking over that leadership role. And he cuts a great promo. And there's a good video package about it where he's like, I'm the leader now. Where are you at, Jay?
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm Bullet Club. Like, I'm the leader now. And then when Girls of Destiny come to the U.S., link up with Gallows, Anderson, Chris Bay, and Jay White betrays Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. And that was the whole, pick sides. That's why for a brief moment, Hikuleu picked Jay White, only then to align with his brothers. Because there's always this tension of, who's second in command. That's the thing. Again, to bring it full circle, someone has to be Destro to Cobra Commander. There's always a guy who thinks he should be the one in control.
Right.
But no one's gonna tell this guy, because everyone else will follow this guy blindly, no matter how poor his leadership might be at times.
But as everybody can't be Finn and AJ though.
Yeah, but Finn is the one that started it and got to the point where the Young Bucks came in and they brought in Luke Gallows to team with Carl Anderson, and it was probably most prominent when AJ was about to leave and Kenny Omega took over. And that's because Kenny Omega had the big match with Okada. But what do you think of like I'm saying, this story? Because again, it is Shakespearean and this kings replace kings. And
I mean, it's dope because.
But if it was all in the same place, would it matter? Would it be doper? Is what I'm saying. Would it matter that much more? The fact that they are all scattered. Does that make it better that when they will link up eventually? Because there's a chance Jay White could be something post Wrestle Kingdom.
I will say this:
up in AEW before, he can show up again.
I was in high school when the NWO was a thing, where these invaders from up north were in the South and were flexing because they've been up north, and that killed everything. That NWO was amazing. I think the idea of a group splintering and showing up in WWE, showing up in AEW, showing up in the indies and wherever else. It's kind of the MCU vibe where it's like,
you think that fits better of like
I think the history of Finn and AJ and what this means then and what it meant, what that hand signal means before then.
what put up the image that from Instagram when Jay White had posted the one from this year.
This
See,
one.
what do you, and that's acknowledging
I think
what has come before you. All you are the one in command now.
Shit like this is. I think you have to think. There's so much going on in the world of pro wrestling. MJF was a story the other day. If it wasn't for that too sweet hand signal that goes from NWO to Bullet Club, there wouldn't be an AEW. Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, all them. Like this shit right here. And you can say NWO, but really you can say Shawn Michaels. That's the birth of what's going on in AEW right now. The beef between CM Punk and the Elite is birthed from shit like this and the internal turmoil when it goes into pro wrestling, when you have a group who feels like we want to take risks and we want to excel versus the status quo. Like it's you mentioned Shakespeare, you mentioned like, like these stories that are older than time. Like that's really what it is. And I think this type of image where these two guys are in the WWE right now, acknowledging the fact that we're able to make chicken off of the shit we were doing in New Japan, where it was really just a bunch of gaijin. With this, it's dope. It's odd because when Michael Cole gets on commentary, I hate to bring it back up, but it's like it's so watered down. Even as much as he made sure to say, "Yo, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna include this and that and that," like he can only say so much. He had to run that through somebody.
And I'm not mad at him. Like he's doing the best he can with what he's given. And what I'm trying to get in with this is
go in.
Could this story be so grand as the Bloodline's been when you have, like I said, you were right with the MCU comparison of like so-and-so's over here, this person left and came back. The link, like I said, between Kenny Omega and Jay White exists as rivals with him taking the title. And then months later, once Kenny Omega and them depart Bullet Club, Jay White joins and takes over the leadership reins and says, "I'm the captain now." Only to then get called in by Adam Cole to help the Elite when Kenny Omega's gone. And that's what kickstarted that whole my good friend Adam Cole that Jay White and him were having with this. Like these guys were never in the Bullet Club at the same time because Adam Cole was off doing this. Like he was doing the UE shit. Like that was his Bullet Club more than, even though he was in Bullet Club, that was more him.
Right.
And that's why that worked with like Adam Cole and the Young Bucks were the super clique, and that's why him being in the Elite matters. And the story we could have had with Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, old man Bobby Fish against the Elite, which is Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and somehow Jay White's just lingering, circling the waters with maybe Chris Bay and now Ace Austin to form a new trio to take on.
That's this white guy, Ace Austin. The videos that Chris Bay and Ace Austin have been doing this past week in New Japan have been fire. They're really good together.
Yeah. Or, maybe Jay White would probably bring in Chris El Phantasmo, ELP to be, or Kenta, and that's in the acknowledgement there. And I think there are so many, like I said, connected dots. It is the MCU in a way, like,
Yeah. But
they'll never be, the thing is, they'll never be in an Infinity War.
Well, I was going to say, like, the thing with this is really dope to see backstage at a WWE show.
Because if you post the tweet image now,
this one,
because Finn Bálor has said in his promos on NXT WWE that they stopped manufacturing the cloth that I'm cut from, and Jay White said because they found better material, and that's the acknowledgement. Like again, I am the new Prince Devitt. I am, because Finn Bálor, when he became a heel and started the Bullet Club, he called himself the real rock and roller. A play on the Guy Ritchie movie and all that. But Jay White, think like 2 years ago, started calling himself the last real rock and roller. A play on that where like and Jay White has said in the past that Finn Bálor, Prince Devitt was the reason that he was able to then go to Japan and become
do his thing.
A young boy, because he was training in wrestling in Rev Pro, which is a UK based wrestling company, and that's what got him the look from Bad Luck Fale and to then join the New Japan dojo. And this is a match that will never get much like we'll never get the AJ Kenny Omega match, because when the one guy was ready to be the main event player, the other dude left. And Kenny Omega said since then, like, that's the match he wants, is him versus AJ. That's why he was almost willing to hear WWE's offer in 2017. Like, if you can give me an AJ Styles match at WrestleMania, I'll join you. Like,
no, but that's the thing. Wait, no, Drip, that because like that's why this image it's dope, but it's heartbreaking because like this is cool backstage, you can do whatever. Backstage, we can be so fucking too sweet in Bullet Club, and this shit was hard. Remember, we were Japan and we did this shit, and it was crazy because we're fucking Gaijin and everything else was going on. That's dope, but they're doing this as a part of the OC and the Judgment Day, where no matter how many shoes, shouts to Mosh.
I was gonna almost post that image. What did you think of the shoes?
The shoes were hard. I'm not a big fan of Jordan 1 mids, but the way Finn has been working at black and purple with the Judgment Day, I think that the black Jordan 1 mid with the purple X and the X swoosh, like, it looked dope. The way the shoes looked at Survivor Series were dope. But at the end of the day, no amount of this, none of that's gonna matter if
or tweets again. Got these guys doing wink wink on the side.
None of this matters. Like, it's great until you get to the point where it's like, okay, so they're at the pay-per-view. They're not the Bullet Club. It's not.
That's why when Fan was like, Jay White will show up, I'm like, Jay White's not showing up. In what way would you think Jay White would show up? Because Carl Anderson is technically a champion in Japan. We agree, like, he fucked them over. Like,
it's tough because you have to look like, if Triple H is the head of creative, it's hard to believe that Triple H is just going to do a white Gaijin versus white Gaijin Bullet Club story because the internet wrestling community was so hype about that. Like, he's still thinking about, how can I make it where the shit that I love watching as a kid can turn into the future of modern pro wrestling? Like, people haven't talked about the fact that the next 5 years, your traditional Survivor Series matches are going to be WarGames matches. Those WarGames matches were too good to then throw out and say, okay, we're going to have a standard 5-on-5 tag match at a Survivor Series. That's it. You better have 5 old motherfuckers versus 5 old motherfuckers from the whatever match that all 5 of those people were for, and this is like the 23rd anniversary or whatever. Like, you can't do that shit anymore. There's no way this is going to be in WWE, the story of Finn and AJ as Bullet Club members outside of the WWE timeline is going to be something that they're going to be booking for. If Jay White shows up in one of these type of situations, it's because it's going to piss off the competition.
No, but like I'm saying, I think the competition's answer is to do Omega Jay White, because they can give you leader 1 versus leader 2. We can give you leader 3 versus leader 4.
Damn.
And that's why I posted the image of the Beatles from the Let It Be, because that's what this is in a way, right? Like, aren't these like the supposedly 4 greats?
Wait, hold up. See, this is all right. This is the whitest noise. All right, so
yeah, I know. When I made that image a few months ago, because I'm like, that's the next. Hang on, change it back. This is the new Droplets T-shirt. This.
Wait, so just so we're clear, John Lennon and Paul McCartney are seen to be like the creative geniuses behind the Beatles, right?
It just happens to work in the order that they became, because everyone would say that John Lennon was better than Paul McCartney, but Paul McCartney was so much more popular. And then Ringo Starr is probably the one that's most divisive. Like
Ringo Starr as Kenny Omega is hilarious because in terms of pro wrestling acumen, Kenny Omega is way further than Ringo Starr, the drummer.
But do you want to flip and do you think he's actually George Harrison? Or because
no, this is the thing. The placement is correct. It's just it feels.
That's why it came to me when I thought about. I thought about this months ago, and I'm like, the reason Kenny Omega is Ringo Starr is because Ringo, you can just replace Ringo Starr with any fucking drummer from that era. Like they said, Paul McCartney did the drums himself because. Ringo Starr also just like how Kenny Omega pisses people off. Well, so much, and the only reason Kenny Omega matters because he had these 3 to 4 matches with Okada, and that's the reason he's in the role. And Jay White being George Harrison is George Harrison. Low key, this guy actually might be the better one. Like when you watch Jay White, is he what Finn Bálor was supposed? Like if you don't get Finn Bálor, you want to get Jay White. Like
for a while, Ringo Starr was the only one talking about the Beatles.
Yeah,
and I think that kind like not saying that Kenny Omega was trying to live on that dream, but
two of the dudes died. Let's.
But what I'm saying is the spirit of the Bullet Club has lived on with how Kenny Omega has been a thing. The fact that Jay White becomes George Harrison is very funny, but it's only funny because. In the spirit of what Bullet Club leadership is, Jay White is literally he's the last person to
That's what I'm saying. Like this guy
turn it into something.
I'm not saying that it's a sinking ship, but he's the guy keeping the ship.
He's got the dream alive.
No, it's in a way. Like he's just the one steering the ship as it's still on the ocean. There's no destination. Right. It's I'm the one. He's holding the fort.
Facts
is what he is, and that's why people are like, because next year will be the 10-year anniversary in May, I believe. People are like, for the 10th anniversary, Bullet Club should disband. So I saw someone tweet that, and I'm like, whoa,
disband.
Because in their eyes, it's no longer relevant. But then I'm like, then why does something like last night matter? Because their story within WWE doesn't matter. It's why
do you care? Why do you care about this then?
On the surface, right? Like, why would you care about this just on the surface? Like, you see these 3 come out and against those 3, you're like, yeah, it's all right. But then when you factor in the past, that's why it matters. Because the guys at the center are what driving it. Because
Michael Cole might have only been speaking for 40 seconds, but they were the most captivating because he had a whole paragraph where Inoki, New Japan, Bullet Club, like he mentioned everything.
And I'm trying to do that within my time frame. I'm like, you can give, like I said, the details of there's a chance Omega drops the title to. I mean, doesn't beat Will Ospreay for the title. More likely, I don't see him winning the IWGP US title while still being in All Elite. Mm-hmm. But the next day, he can challenge Jay White, and Jay White can show up and call him out in AEW, and there's the Forbidden Door existed for a reason.
Facts.
It's for New Japan guys to show back up in AEW, and for the guys who started that company to go back over there and win the goodwill and mend fences.
He know what he's doing.
But at the same thing, that's probably what's next. I don't think we'll get what would be like a good round robin type thing, which is like Finn Bálor faces Jay White while AJ Styles faces Kenny Omega. We'll never get to that point somehow.
There's too much going on, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's, like I said, and all the other revolving parts, like Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, like they jumped ship from Bullet Club when they were just there 4 months ago. The crazy part was like when Jay White came back to Japan and called out Okada. Mm-hmm. Carl Anderson as a whole promo was like, I've seen the best from Prince Devitt to AJ Styles to Kenny Omega, but no one is better than the Switchblade Jay White. And that's when, again, the leaders, there's a great, like I said, video where it's it cuts from Prince Devitt to AJ to Kenny Omega, and again, Jay White steering the ship to keep Bullet Club alive. And that's why he did the whole thing, he kicked out Tama Tonga, because he's and why he did that, I brought in the ultimate finesse. Chris Bay.
What a great promo.
Because he was like, because what matters is Bullet Club business and what is going to keep Bullet Club alive and going forward. He's like, that's why I came to Impact. He's like, that's why I went to AEW. And it's like, that's why I'm back in Japan, because I can rule Bullet Club all over. And that's the story again. Like, that's why Chris Bay and Ace Austin are now in the Super Junior Tag League and doing their thing. And that's why, like, the Bullet Club will still exist with Taiji Ishimori as the junior champ, and Chase Owens and Balor Fale tagging for the world tag titles, and so on and so forth. It's a thing that can't be killed because it remains so relevant. Like you said, one company exists off 4 guys coming together in 2013 and throwing up 2 sweets, and then some other guys coming in and doing the fucking suck it.
It would be great if, all right, in 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. 10 years of BRP time. If I was if I was still here and I was BRP able to see, 10? Well, I'm saying, like, if this 4 was expanded to like 6, and Chris Bay was one of those guys who was seen as, like, for this chunk of time, he was the leader. Because again, I've been watching Chris Bay since he's been in Japan, and the promos that him and Ace Austin are cutting, just like Leo Rush and I forget who his tag partner is. It's dope.
No,
I saw Leo with another guy.
Yeah, Leo Rush. No. Yeah, because Kushida's with Kevin Knight.
I don't think it's Kushida. I'd have to check it.
Yeah, no, Kevin Knight is with Kushida and Leo Rush is with Alex Zane. Was it a white guy?
It was a Japanese guy. Leo Rush was definitely with a non-white dude. Either way, I like seeing the development of what's going on with these 2 over there, especially representing what's going on right now.
Oh, he's with Yo.
Okay. Yes. So I watched a promo before we recorded. I saw them cut a promo. But I would love to see Chris Bay be able to be mentioned amongst these guys in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's why I thought it was weird when they brought in Ace Austin, because I'm like, you already got an Impact guy in Chris Bay. Why would you need another Bullet Club guy in Impact? But I guess that's the thing of, like, it makes sense for them to team up to then do this stuff, because ELP would. I think he's trying to make the jump from the junior division to the heavyweight division because he competed in the G1 this year. But him and Chris Bay probably would have been the junior tag.
Maybe
team representing Bullet Club.
I mean, again, if this is the look right now, and we're already getting this, and at some point, the two of the white guys in this could be facing each other in 2 of the 3 white guys in this image could be facing each other. The white guys on the right side of this image could be facing each other for New Japan Gold very soon. It's easy to see that, like we talk about NXT being a feeder system for pro wrestling. Realistically, the Bullet Club feels like the feeder system for the leadership in regards to pro wrestling. So if Chris Bay is talking and walking the way he's been as a part of Bullet Club in Impact as well as overseas, he could be one of those guys.
Because the whole point of Bullet Club was they wanted to give Prince Devitt a big push. And Ghetto's like, I want to turn you heel, and I'm going to give you a faction. It's like this guy who was super babyface junior heavyweight champ. You know, he's the Gaijin, but he's beating our best guys, and you just can't help but cheer for him. He just looks like a good guy.
Right.
And now he's the bad guy and he's doing, again, he's like, I wrestle a completely different style. Like, I was using low blows and ref bumps and chair shots. I was doing whatever I could to win. And that's what I'm saying about, like, the people without that match was underwhelming. He's wrestling a different style, like how he tried to do. Like, I'm not Prince Devitt junior heavyweight champ. I'm Prince Devitt, leader of the Bullet Club. Like,
word. Exactly.
And the fact that these guys cross paths with just in one night and have no interaction on screen creates this myth in a way about, like, the first and the second leader. And one guy is the best indie worker that was until he joined WWE and AJ Styles, like Mr. TNA, the guy who carried that company for years and years, and jumped over to Japan because like that company was sinking, and he was like, I gotta get out of here.
Right.
And it added an extra something to him to become this leader of this group and give him this, again, heel edge of, I'm, again, too sweet, you know, I'm the best wrestler in the world. I'm AJ Styles, the leader of the Bullet Club. He leaves, and Kenny Omega, this guy who very divisive before all of the stuff after his, mainstream pop was, oh, he's a comedy wrestler. He doesn't take it seriously, and this and that. But he did once he became the leader of the Bullet Club, and there's that match of him and Hiroki Goto for the G1 finals where he hits Prince Devitt's Bloody Sunday, and Hiroki Goto kicks out, and then he hits AJ Styles Clash, and Goto kicks out, and that was supposed to be like, these finishers don't work anymore because those guys aren't here. My finisher is going to work because I'm the guy who's here, and I'm the guy leading this faction. Damn. And the whole point of like the leaders have to usurp one another, that he thinks bringing in Jay White once prior to him actually joining is the move, and Jay White's the snake in the grass. He's like, yeah, I'll join. Not now. Like,
right. Let me get some time to figure out
because he instead the next day he joined Chaos, and the whole point of him and Chaos is like, listen, I'll team up with you guys for 10-man tags, but I want to be world heavyweight champion, and Okada's the world heavyweight champion. So when it comes to that, I have no problem. I have no problem sticking you, like and that's why it worked with him being the cutthroat switchblade. And like I said, Chris Bay could one day be the guy in 2 or 3 years who Jay White's time's up, and Chris Bay is now the guy who says it's my turn, and who knows?
You can't see it in this image, but Chris Bay and Ace Austin are currently leading.
Yeah, they're 3-0
in points. I think they're 4-0 as of an hour ago. They're 4-0 as of this recording. So again, in talking about Bullet Club leadership, which I didn't think we were going to get to, and how that would relate to future success. They're representing Bullet Club right now in what's the Super Junior Tag League or whatever it's called. So we could be seeing one of these two being added to this consortium of people, but
and that's why it's the again, it primes you for the top spot. NXT champion for Finn Bálor, the longest reigning until Adam Cole, first ever Universal champion, and then the injury happens, and that's a whole nother thing. AJ Styles again is able to show up, and within 9 months of WWE, he is the WWE champion, which was just like, this is the craziest thing ever. Who would have thought a year into his tenure that AJ Styles is the WWE champion? Again, he got that Bullet Club bump, and he impressed Vince McMahon, most importantly, that like after years of Vince McMahon saying TNA's not relevant, he sees this guy work his ass off. It's like, there's something here.
Who started Bullet Club?
Prince Devitt.
Is he the Thanos of the Bullet Club?
Well, really, it would probably be Ghetto in terms of like, by him being the booker of New Japan,
orchestrating everything.
Yeah, because I think he does have the say of like who comes in and who doesn't.
I would hope so. Yeah, I think you need. Yeah, what's it say? As Bullet Club is owned by New Japan Pro Wrestling, all wrestlers joining the stable, including those who have joined at Ring of Honor ROH events, have to be approved by New Japan Pro Wrestling booker Ghetto.
Yeah,
wow.
Even Jeff Jarrett was Bullet Club member for like 2 weeks. It was basically just a one-off spot he did, but yeah.
Ghetto was an 8-time recipient of the Best Booker Award from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, for anybody who thinks that holds weight. But no, that's actually pretty dope that and I don't know if that's still prevalent to this day. This is as of 5 years ago, but I would assume the way Bullet Club is booked, that there's somebody who's still kind of, especially if Bullet Club is a New Japan thing, there's got to Ghetto is the Kevin Feige of the.
Well, he wears a bucket hat. Well, he wore a bucket hat, and then he started wearing that newsboy cap. Yeah. When he comes out with Jay White.
I think we just cracked the code, Drip. I'm sorry. We just cracked the code.
Again, like it's there could be a bigger story than the bloodline in terms, like I said, all these guys come together, but it just can't work because one's here, one's there, and all the missing pieces. And again, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa are now out of Bullet Club and Hickey Lato. It just like there could have been an endgame type event where the ultimate story, the story that, again, one company was built upon these guys linking up and that spawned a whole another thing.
I think there's two stories we're probably going to have to do at some point. One, who were the people you just mentioned?
What do you mean? Oh, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Hikulea. Because that's the thing, there have been members of Bullet Club who are no longer members, and they are now kicked out of the group because, you know, they're enemies of Jay White.
The story of the Bullet Club members who couldn't make it or didn't make it for whatever reasons probably were interesting. Also, outside of all of this, the Sting and Great Muta, because so much of what they were able to do as a rivalry happened overseas.
Yeah,
will be interesting as well, especially because Muta's time's coming to an end. Muta's going to be done by like February next year. So I keep talking. I don't know how many times I've mentioned the Sting and Muta rivalry from my childhood as being one of the greatest things ever. But I'm gonna tell you now. Come middle of January, by the time AEW starts telling these stories, you're gonna look back on the Patreons and be like, "Yo, Cal was right. He's not just an old drunk bastard. Like he was actually, you know, talking about some shit that matters to what's going on in pro wrestling right now." But
meanwhile, I'm the guy who's just like talking about shit that only you care about, Drip. Like, who cares that 4 white guys are linked because a shirt and a symbol?
You're talking about ask Keeks. Ask Keeks how many people care about.
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah.
This type of link up. That's
I'm saying
this is why AEW exists.
No, but again, because this is white noise, when we can be dreamers and fantasy bookers and people who like to believe and don't have a Mimi in the background to tell y'all to live in the now, even though I love her.
Just tell y'all the real shit.
Be realistic.
Facts.
You know, Jay White ain't showing up to no Raw, Drip. He ain't, you know, AJ Styles isn't showing up to Wrestle Kingdom to, you know.
Jesus.
But that's like I said, like that's why I was so pissed the way things have played out with, and it sucks because his health is more important. But the Adam Cole, undisputedly with him and Kyle O'Reilly and Old Man Bobby Fish facing Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and that again, white boy warfare is what I called it. That civil war. And then, like I said, Jay White's in the background, like puppet mastering it because you know. And again, in a way, these guys all have ties. You know, they can fit their images of Finn Bálor and Adam Cole in NXT. Throwing up the too sweet. Adam Cole was a member of the Bullet Club until they kicked him out and replaced him with Marty Scurll. Which bad decision in hindsight.
Marty Scurll, anything Marty Scurll's bad decision.
Yeah,
facts. It's sad.
And again, there was that Cody Rhodes moment that you say that there potentially could be played up if they really wanted to, but he's probably also like, that was a thing. It's like when an actor like is asked about an old movie. It was a role I did. I didn't really.
But I mean, I think ultimately, if the Bullet Club.
Listen, my dad wasn't in Bullet Club, so I don't want to talk about it because I only want to care about stuff my dad's involved in.
But wait, I mean, like I said earlier, if the Bullet Club really is seen as like a feeder system for pro wrestling, you're gonna have.
When I did the Cody Rhodes episode, I said he went to Bullet Club because it was popping. And he's like, listen, I gotta get with these guys.
But I'm saying you're gonna have
wins. You gotta hop on Amigo song because they're the shit right now. Like, yeah, you know, like I can't hang, but I'll jump on that song. Yeah,
you're gonna have wins and losses. Like on both. Ghetto is like, yo, Bullet Club is hard right now. What's gonna be wrong with adding Dusty Rhodes' son?
No, it worked when he had a good vignette. When it was like him in a dark room smoking a cigar, and then there was like
sometimes it makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to get out of here, Drip. Yeah. I got to pee too, but we got to get out of here. This is great conversation.
So you didn't care about it when it was happening early in its infancy, and then once you found out, you still didn't care. Again, these guys in their T-shirts and their sweets. They didn't have a black man until Chris Bay.
Outside all that, I'm aware. I have to stay aware of everything just because pro wrestling is literally 24/7. Why I keep the lights on, but when
they also had need a Hispanic wrestler. Like Andrade would have been a good fit for
That's not going to. What I'm saying
he had
is,
started LIJ. That's why he wouldn't jump ship, because that's the own faction.
All of this shit in the world of pro wrestling is amazing. The moment that Michael Cole has to drop a paragraph of speech about everything we just spent an hour plus talking about, that's when I'm like, yo, these pro wrestling worlds colliding is too hilarious to not have a conversation about. It doesn't because there's no titles exchange. Like, there's Michael Cole bringing all of this up is great for us, but in the grand scheme of 2022, none of this matters.
Yeah, it's all like, so that's why like
it's too spread apart.
No, I'm saying I'm doing my version of like the myth gifts. So like, sort of like Adam Cole brought in Jay White, and the Young Bucks don't like Jay White. He's the guy who took over Bullet Club when they left, and like what's Kenny Omega gonna think when he shows up and Jay White's there, and Adam Cole's the one who brought him in, and there's Adam Cole and Kenny Omega, they killed.
There's too much going on.
Kenny Omega killed Adam Cole on BT and all that. There's that. I can go into that like bag of what does this hug mean, or what did that look mean, and that's like the people that love the Bloodline. The flip version of that in AEW is all the stuff within the Elite and Hangman Page and Cody when he was there until he stopped giving a fuck about those guys, and that the writing was on the wall then when he had distanced himself from them.
Right.
And that's why Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and Jay White showed up. Like, what does this mean in the history of the land? And when Gallows and Anderson briefly had showed up just to collect checks, there's all that, except WWE's doing it well because they have the players in house to tell the story, which is 4 family members and a guy who wants to be a family member. Like,
I don't know, Drip.
All I've ever needed was a home. That's what he's like. He's like.
I want to tell you, Drip. At the end of the day,
you can just never have things you want. Is what it is, Cal.
These stories are cool until someone's got to write the rest of the show.
Oh, I never say until you get them. Then I'm like, oh, you're gonna bring up how like I was hyping the Gray Man. Like,
no. It's not even that. It's not even that. It's one of those things where like.
There's never a movie made more for me than the Gray Man. And I was like,
not even that, but I think
that's what people thought about last night, to be honest.
Talk about
fuck yeah, AJ Styles, Finn Balor. Finally, after 5 years, they're doing it again. It's like, that's it. I'm like, it's a match. Like they said, the story is what's weak. It's like no one likes the Judgment Day outside of Finn and Rhea.
Let me tell you something.
And the OC is just AJ hanging with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Let me tell you something, Drip. You know what you're experiencing right now? What you just described is me with the knowledge that I know about, like, what. All right, the focus is Finn and AJ. What you can do with your pro wrestling knowledge is pull the scope back and be like, yo, Finn and AJ's really Finn and AJ in this story about the Bullet Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I can do is say, the Bullet Club, you gotta pull it back more and see where this moment in time fits in with the rest of pro wrestling to then pull it back out to see. Like, you're starting to see why I get jaded.
Oh,
because
no.
Because what I'm saying is, I say that because with the knowledge you have in pro wrestling right now, 2022 pro wrestling is more yours than it is mine. And you're starting to see where it's like not really yours anymore, because the shit that you actually care about when it comes to the Bullet Club and all these white guys being the leaders, they're not really the leaders because this shit don't really matter at a certain point.
Not just that, because I'm jaded to begin with in terms of like nothing good ever happens or nothing good lasts is the thing. The things that's you want is your heart's wants and desires. They're only so brief. It is a 10 out of 12 cycle of constant bad shit. In the 2 months of bliss, you're like, man, I'm going to savor this while we're getting a dark territory. Dark notions. White noise is a whole different thing. If you want to go, no, it's not learning, because again, I already know, because that's why I get so pissed with Tony Khan's booking. I'm like, this, and that's why Ricky Starks finally winning was a huge deal because, like, you mean to tell me it takes you this long to realize that this man should now be in the position he's in, and you had to go in this roundabout ass way of telling me the story of like he has to wear a cutoff hockey jersey, then he has to wear his own shirt, then he finally comes out and you see he's taped the fuck up, and I'm like, yeah, I could tell something was up when he was wearing a shirt in back-to-back fucking matches. But you know what? Just don't fucking, it's like, don't tell me I'm an idiot for believing, because I already know I'm the idiot for believing. That's what an idiot is. It's like, I know this woman, I know what she's gonna do, but I don't care. And then when it happens, it's like, oh,
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, like I always relate to, like, I know what you're gonna do with this football, but I'm still gonna run and try to kick it anyway. And then happens. Like
this is the conundrum.
Whether she has a signed document or not, it wasn't notarized. Oh, it wasn't notarized.
This is why anybody, when I talk about being a fan of pro wrestling, they say, "Oh, pro wrestling is fake." You know it. Y'all go. What Drip just said. This is why I can't talk to those people. Like you have to bypass all of that.
But at the end of the day, I'll still love a match, especially a good to great match. And last night was a really good match. It wasn't the best match I thought it would be, but it was still a really solid match. And it mattered because it had the moments of like AJ Styles Finn Bálor tries a Styles clash, and AJ Styles like, you ain't gonna fucking do my move on me. And then when Finn Bálor hits the Ushi-Goroshi, and then AJ Styles is gonna try to do like his Finn Balor's DDT, and Finn Bálor, like, that's again the storytelling of that. Like, I know how you wrestle because we're supposed to be linked, even though we've only shared the ring one or two times. Like, but that's the whole point. Like, watching tape, treating it as a sport. That's sort of like, you think I don't know how Finn Bálor wrestles? I know what's coming. He grabs me like this, he's gonna swing and drop that elbow.
That's how pro wrestling works. Yeah. Right.
And that's why it worked in that aspect of like two guys. And at the end, they didn't linger on the shot, but AJ Styles went like this for a minute. But it wasn't the full wide shot of like Finn Bálor sitting in the corner defeated and AJ being like, who's the prince now, bitch? Like, which would have been like perfect. But
I'm gonna say this.
We gotta wrap up because again, you gotta pee the Niner. I missed the first half of the Niner game.
What you just described is the only thing I don't like about the Great Muda's ending is Muda Sting is such a great rivalry.
You're saying that Sting has to end with him?
Having one of the last matches is a 6-man where it's like Sting and Sting's little what do they call the senpai? Mm-hmm. He's his little fucking senpai or whatever in this match. Nah, give me if y'all want old Sting jumping off of shit in the tables, give me old Sting
Muto and Steve Bordator. All right. It's the power hour. Let's turn it on.
If God ain't got Steve Borden against Kaiju Great Muta, I don't know what to tell you.
Keiji Muto. It was always amazing how like Keiji Muto was like this clean cut, good looking baby face, who could wrestle, and then Gary Hart's like, that ain't gonna work over here in the States. I used to manage the Great Kabuki. Let's put some fucking paint on you and have you spit and miss.
Wait, two things. You mentioned miss. One, if I'm not mistaken, there's the 6-man tag with Sting and Darby Allin is the final Great Muta match. I think that's on the
because the Shinsuke Nakamura Great Muta match is before that, and that's a one-on-one match.
And I believe after like a week or two after that, there's a Keiji Muto match that is I guess will be his last match. But also watching Survivor Series WarGames and getting a good it wasn't just a miss spot. It was a great miss. The way the miss covered Rhea Ripley, and Asuka just did like 2, 3, 4 social media posts with fucking green people next. Anyway, but it made me feel good knowing that somebody actively is still using the miss.
Oh, there'll always be someone who spits miss. There'll always be someone who. That's why when Elias showed up, I'm like, oh, we need a new guy who uses a guitar to hit people. I didn't like the first guy who used the guitar, and before that, it was a worse guy that used the guitar to hit people.
You just have to make sure that there's somebody there that can.
You know what? That brings it full circle. Like with the Bullet Club, there always has to be. You have to be a top tier wrestler to be
You got to have, but you also have the people.
Bullet Club. You have to have that look and that feel and that like can do it in the ring, and that's what from Finn Bálor to AJ Styles to Kenny Omega, who is a better promo in Japan than he's been in the States, to Jay White, who's best promo in the world today, and then maybe Chris Bay would be that guy in 3 years.
You have to, for a Bullet Club, you have to have the right pieces. Why? Because it's not a gang. It's a club. On that note, Drip, we got to get out of here. Where can people find you? You
can find me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip. Instagram, Davis Colton DC. Banks versus Davis every Sunday. Live on YouTube. Banks versus Davis Patreon. We're on the way to 300 subscribers on YouTube.
Salute.
Cal, you've been on the show before. Mimi, Fam, Matt have all been on the show before. When Black Wrestling and BBD have collided, but I am no longer.
Do that again sometime.
Yeah, but I am no longer your BRP predictions champion. That miserable piece of shit. Matthew Damon is your champion, and he does not deserve to be called a champion.
He beat you fair and square, though. I will say that.
He is a cheat. He's a no good, no honor. He is a. Him and Tony Brown are gonna drive me nuts, like he said.
Hey, now,
fucking Tony Brown and him are gonna laugh. Like, nope. Like I said, I'm quitting. I'm turning in my papers.
You good, Jared? Don't worry about it. It's 2023.
So make sure you're watching BRP Black Wrestling proper every Thursday night live on YouTube. Something else drops every Wednesday, 11:11 with Love of the Bow and Il Fam. Il Fam's also on Where's Buffy every Friday night with a rotating crew of the Where's Buffy team. Shout out to Diz. That last episode they did of Sports and Buff was dope.
It was a good episode.
Black Wrestling Patreon. We got Bulls of the China Shop with Vin and Semp. Black Watch with Fam in downtown Tony Brown. Black Wrestling Podcast Club with you and Math. Obviously White Noise and more content in the future.
Facts. I'm at Cal on Twitter, at Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm going to say subscribe to the Black Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to Blake's First Davis on YouTube. Subscribe to something else on Twitter. Subscribe to Where's Buffy on YouTube. We hitting y'all like 4 out of 5 days of the week. There's new content.
I got more
from our side anyway.
More best of videos coming soon. The special guest stars.
Great. Best of special guest stars volume 3 is already downloaded. That'll be going up on the Patreon. Pay the 1, pay the 10. Y'all see it first before it hits the YouTube. We gonna beat your ass. I don't care if it's like Apollo Creed or like Mike Tyson. BRP fucking.
What a fight that would have been.
Mike Tyson would have killed that man worse.
You think so?
Did. Apollo Creed was a showman.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, blackwrestling.com is a website. As always, you can find the Black Wrestling Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google. Every Thursday, 8:35, we're giving you 5 mics of Black Wrestling Podcast Excellence. This Thursday, Black Pod Connect goes down at 9 p.m. on the YouTube. Salutes to the A Show. Salutes to Black Announce Table. Shouts to Stack Guy Greg.
I think that will be amazing. I think
it's gonna be fun.
I'm not underestimating anyone. I think J5 and Meals, Cody, it'll be interesting.
It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be a fun live. And if you're subscribed, I will say this: Patreon subscribers to any of the 3 pods, y'all gonna be the real winners. Yeah. Y'all gonna be the real winners.
I guess Apple Podcast, Spotify for the A Show, Patreon. Black Announce Table, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Blue Wire. Is Blue Wire its own service or is it just a network? Right?
I think I don't know, but I just know that a lot of the dopest pods out there are
the Corner,
Blue Wire. So it's shouts to the Corner, shouts to Andreas Hale and Kel Dansby. Yeah, I feel like it's a place that also co-signs a lot of dope pods. So somewhere in the middle, a lot of our greatest peers are out there. But we'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah, peace. Come on, Cal. Too sweet me for the Bullet Club episode. You gotta.
Absolutely, Rick.